is up, guys? DMAH. I usually say from Marshall Club, but I'm wearing a Marshall Club shirt right now. You can't.
Me
see
too.
It,
me too. They will see it. They will see it.
No.
Okay.
Man, people are gonna think we are so politically correct. Anyways,
Proud
welcome to the first episode of our podcast. This is an experimental thing. So, just quick warning, fair warning now. It's gonna be really, really random. Hopefully you find a lot of things you enjoy, but if you don't, no hard feelings. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our banter. And welcome to episode 1. Mike Rao, my best homie. How are you doing?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. What's up, man?
I have discovered that I am getting extremely fat because of Corona, because I'm not exercising. So I'm trying to fix that by getting regular. I hear from the grapevine, aka Instagram, that you are killing it and training every single day.
I feel good. This time has revealed to me that I actually like running, which is really unheard of, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people. I know it's really strange.
Nobody likes running.
I know. That's still a very sound theory that nobody likes running. I think I'm just going crazy. And maybe this is just the first step of my descent into madness. But it's weird. I ran 10 miles for the very first time earlier this year with Tracy. And my body was about to fall apart. And I'm there's no way I'm going to do this again. And then little did I know that a month later, I'd be doing it multiple times a week. And this is really strange.
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself. I've been running all around Torrance. And I've been going you know how in your mind. Wow. First off, apologies to people who are watching this visually. I'm showing a little too much leg in this frame, so I'm gonna pull down my shorts.
Are you not wearing pants?
I was literally contemplating doing this without pants, but I realized our cameras are just much too good now. So, for the sake of you guys listening or viewing, I am going to do this fully clothed. Sorry for anyone who's expecting otherwise.
Yeah, I had to show the camera right now that I was wearing pants because I just thought I wasn't wearing pants. Initially, I lifted up my leg so they could see just my leg, and then I was like, this doesn't help. I could still be completely naked from the waist down.
Maybe it does help, Mike.
Yeah, dude, that's how we're gonna get the views. That's how we're gonna get the people re-TikToking us. Dude, to that end, Mike Kim from Mike Kim Comedy just convinced me to start up TikTok, and I kind of hate myself.
Shame on
I hate myself. It's interesting because you get a very, very immediate response compared to Instagram. Instagram, you could post something and it could be something really thoughtful, something really well composed, and you can get really, really few views. I know for you, you have an audience already, but TikTok, I can take a picture of a poop and I'll get 70 likes and 5,000 views, and I'll be whoa, that's kind of strange. So I know it's an algorithm that they probably designed specifically to hook people, where Instagram, they already have their followers, so they don't really need to incentivize new users. But yeah, dude, I think it's a platform that if Marshall Club can bear the ridiculousness of it all, it does it's kind of this interesting platform where if you've got a minute of interesting content, you can usually get eyeballs. So
yeah. Okay, I have a confession to make. I still have my honor, Mike, unlike you. But,
yes.
But Andy has taken the plunge into the mindless world of TikTok. And apparently some of his posts have already gone viral. It's something interesting. Yeah. It's just weird how you introduce this new world, this new social media platform, and it's the gold rush, right? Not saturated yet, and there's just an audience waiting out there that doesn't know what they want, and you're there to show it to them. So who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe this is your launch pad.
I really doubt it.
Yeah. I, for one, still have my dignity, but you are hopeless, so you should go.
I am hopeless. I have no dignity. I have no honor. I literally take off my pants. No, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's really interesting because like before TikTok, there was Snapchat, and I think Snapchat is still a thing, but
Yeah.
I don't think it became the platform that a lot of people thought it could become.
Right.
And even before Instagram, there are like all these other social media platforms that kind of had a little bit of a launch. I know this is super dated, but like before all this, there was what was it, MySpace and
Yeah.
Friendster, like things that like totally like Google what was it, Google Plus, Google something or another.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard because at the end of the day, as somebody who's trying to basically make a living and create a brand that he can use, that I can use to reach people with a message that matters to me. You don't want to like waste your hours on things that don't matter or things that don't make sense. But at the same time, it's like there's so many opportunities out there. Like I'm on Reddit now, I'm on Facebook groups, I'm on all these stupid things just to try to do what I need to let people know that I have a message that may be worth listening to. But I'm glad that you still have your dignity. When you decide to sell out, please let me know.
Okay.
I have some hilarious videos that you could make related to you taking off your clothes while doing kung fu, because apparently that's what sells
excellent.
right now.
Excellent. Yes, that is the key to success. First off, Mike, your age is showing. What is Friendster and what
Dude,
is
yeah.
MySpace?
I've never used Friendster. I did have a MySpace. Did you not have a MySpace? You totally had a MySpace.
I've never had a MySpace.
No, wow,
I've never had a
wow.
MySpace.
Good for you.
Yeah, but
good for you.
I think it's more of a function of me being like socially awkward and like not socially viable when I was little. So like,
that's good.
And
good.
little.
You saved yourself.
Notice how I said little and not young, because that's how old you are, Mike.
Yes, I'm very old. They used to have this function, like top friends, and you could like order your favorite people, and people would like play these games where like they'd watch who would put who high, and then they'd match them. It's this friendship breaker right there. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I was totally thinking that. I've heard about that, and I've heard like many an alliance was shattered over MySpace in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. It's like worse than not returning somebody's like best man in of you or groomsmaning of you. It's like, dude,
I know, dude.
I thought you're one of my 4 best friends, and you didn't even make me an usher. Right?
Yeah, it's like Yoko Ono 2.0. It's like if you want to bring up the Beatles of today, MySpace top 5.
Bring back
MySpace.
MySpace.
To do it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
So, dude, no, you go.
Oh, it was weird. Like, sorry for those of you watching if I seem a little bit out of it. I didn't fall asleep until 5:30 a.m. this morning. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that I ran 10 miles at like 10 p.m. last night. But for some reason, my body was like about to fall apart. It's that kind where like you lay down in bed and you just feel your muscles melting into mush, and yet I couldn't fall asleep. And like,
weird.
Yeah. And whenever I'm like that, whenever I can't sleep, my go-to is to turn on Netflix. I know some of you sleep experts are going to be like, oh, but like it usually works for me. So I'm like, okay, let's turn on a movie that requires very little thought, and I'll be off to dreamland in no time. So I put on Romeo Must Die, and I freaking watched the whole thing, and like, okay, so Romeo Must Die is not gonna win any awards now or in 100 years, but I have to say I've definitely seen worse. Like, I watched the movie and I'm like, I gotta hand it to you, Mike. The writing is not bad.
Really?
Like, I watch it again. Maybe like, okay, so Romeo Must Die, I watched it during my formative years. It inspired me so much as an insecure teenager, or not even teenager, like preteens. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I remember watching it a couple years later, and I'm like, dude, this movie's garbage. This movie's hot trash. But like, it's weird now as an adult who's like officially into his 30s. I watched it again, and I'm like, I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse. I don't know. What are your memories of that movie? Well, first off, when was the last time you saw that?
I literally can't remember what happens in the movie besides the fact that Jet Li doesn't ever kiss Aaliyah.
I know. Okay, yeah, that was definitely like that stuck out like a sore thumb in the movie. But honestly, I think it was measured, and like I don't think the audience would have been ready for it at that time.
I don't think they're ready for it today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's really interesting because like a lot of themes that are front and center now were actually kind of explored back then, and like
absolutely
some things have not changed, and some things are like absolutely changed. Like fashion is 100,000 million times better today than it was in the early 2000s, but that's another point. Like
seriously.
But all things considered, like the themes that they're dealing with, and Jet Li as someone who's starring in his first leading man role in America.
Is it really?
I don't think he did. Yeah. That was his first time as a leading man in America, and I don't think he did that bad. You know, he acted in English, like, and obviously English. You know, stick to wushu, buddy. But like, all things considered, I don't think he did a bad job. And like a lot of his lines, I'm like, yeah, I believe it. I'm on board with this.
He like it's actually not with, like, conviction.
Yeah, like it was just like the right amount of fobbiness. It's like he's fresh off the, you know, he's like he literally just snuck into America after having escaped from prison in Hong Kong. You sound like someone like who just did that, you know. So like, and certain lines that they wrote for him kind of fell a little flat, but it's like, for the most part, this is how I expect someone from your circumstance to sound, and I'm actually kind of impressed that he pulled it off. Yeah, like, again, no Gary Oldman's in this, no Morgan Freeman's in this. Even though he would go on to star in a movie with Morgan Freeman, it's like, I feel like the acting was pretty consistent all around. Yeah, you didn't know Jet Li was in a movie with Morgan Freeman? Yeah, exactly.
Which movie?
So for those of you guys watching, I personally regard Morgan Freeman as one of the finer actors from our generation. And like in my opinion, he
just like Jet Li, right?
Yeah. But for any movie Morgan Freeman's in, automatically gets like plus 15 to 20, because like he's just like that charismatic, you know, that he's got that voice that'll like massage your soul. So like it's really surprising that he was in a movie with Jet Li. It was the one Unleashed. It was actually a French movie called Danny the Dog, but in America it was released as Unleashed. And basically, Jet Li plays this guy who is like conditioned like a fighting dog. So basically, from birth, he wasn't treated as a human; he was treated as a dog. And the guy who is his handler makes him fight in pits, and like makes a lot of money off of him, exploits him, and doesn't treat him as a human. And the way he keeps him in check is through this inhibitor collar. And as long as that collar's on, he's completely submissive, and he'll totally like beat the crap out of whatever person you've put in front of him. But then the story advances when obviously he's freed from the collar.
Spoilers.
Basically, Iron Man dies at the end.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen it by now, shame on you.
You have to edit that out. Oh,
yeah.
You're a terrible person.
I know, we've sunk the podcast, and we're not even 15 minutes into the first episode.
Seriously. I think I've seen it, or clips of it, Danny the Dog, or whatever. I distinctly remember Jet Li, like, kind of doing that not repressed, but like beaten down, rabid. Unless he's done it in more than one movie, I've definitely seen clips of it.
This movie stands out. I mean, it has a surprising amount of heart for this kind of genre. You know, because like Jet Li is not. Yeah, he's not a chameleon of an actor. He's very much a typecast.
It's still a kung fu movie, right?
It is, but it's like someone who's not a fan of the genre and wants like a heartfelt drama could probably can conceivably get their kicks from this movie, and that's really surprising. I was kind of blown away when I saw that the first time. Got it. Yeah, and I'm surprised it's not actually an American movie. It's a Luc Besson movie. It's a French movie.
I have lost all interest.
I know.
Literally,
I know, right? I know.
When you put on the accent, the only person allowed to talk that way to me is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he doesn't even talk that way. He doesn't. Why did I say he's I just showed somebody the
as
the
long
Frenchman,
as they're from that,
the gay karate man.
Gay karate man. Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Jean-Claude Van Damme's first film credit ever Was not Jean-Claude Van Damme. Was not Frank Dukes. It was Gay Karate Man.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, they say there's nothing like a first impression, and I think Jean-Claude Van Damme will, to some degree, always be in my heart Gay Karate Man.
Yeah, I think honestly he's super underrated as an actor, and I know this seems kind of absurd, but like as a comedic actor, he has fantastic timing, and he doesn't, at least in his comedic roles, he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yes,
he's very good at self-depreciation. I feel like that he got big being the Muscles from Brussels and like this Kickmaster. It kind of hurt his career. I'm not saying he could have been like a chameleon, like the Gary Oldmans and all, but I do think that he had the skill necessary to pull off a lot more than he was kind of thrust into. I was watching some of like his more recent stuff, Jean-Claude Van Damme Johnson or whatever, and
Van
the
Johnson.
JCVD movie. Dude, they're so good. They're so good. He's got like such.
Water.
Yeah, so good. You don't know what that's about? Check it out on Amazon Prime. Yeah, you've got nothing else to do, so just watch it.
Yeah, don't tell me that you don't have time to watch this. But you told me there was that other movie he did, right? It was kind of like a mockumentary of his life. It was like autobiographical.
JCVD.
Jean-Claude JCVD. Right.
Yeah.
I only got an hour into it. I really wish I was watching it in the original language, but it was dubbed. But
that'll kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like they have it on Amazon Prime right now, but they only have the dub available.
Okay.
So I'm like, I think this would be amazing if I was watching it the way it was intended to be watched. But like the fact that it's dubbed by these like French actors, I'm like, it like only kind of like it's only kind of lukewarm. But the scene where like. Isn't it? The premise is Jean-Claude Van Damme is unwittingly involved in a bank robbery.
Yes.
And people who are only seeing the partial vision from the outside think that he's actually orchestrating the bank robbery. So the police form this hostage situation where they think they're dealing with JCVD, the bank robber, when really he's just like an innocent bystander, and he has to use his inherent action star status to save the day.
Yeah.
And
it super self-depreciating, like satiristic, The Office-esque humor.
Yeah. And like to a certain degree they're successful. Like I got to the scene where you find out that the bank robbers are also fans of JCVD. And there's a part where like he forces him to kick the cigarette out of one of the hostages' mouths. And he's like, man, why you gotta make me do this? He's like, come on, do it just once. And then he's like, okay. So he roundhouse kicks a cigarette out of the guy's mouth, and it's like easy because he's JCVD, and the guy's like, dude, that was amazing, and like I'm a super fan, and I'm a martial artist myself. You want me to see me do the same thing? And he's like, no, not really. He's like, no, I'm gonna do it. Watch. And then he's like, wait, but let me stretch. I haven't done this in a long time. Then Jean-Claude Van Damme's like, so don't do it. And then, like. His delivery is actually really, really good, and you're right. I think
so good.
Like, I know, as crazy as it is to say, you're right. I think Jean-Claude Van Damme doesn't actually get the kudos he deserves as an actor.
It's like Jason Alexander. Once he was Costanza, nobody else ever took him seriously. He was forced into roles that people already expected out of him. And
is it true he's not bald?
I don't know how he's doing today. I know that he got implants. So, like, he went bald. And the Costanza you see on the show, I'm pretty sure was bald, naturally. But he got hair treatments and, like, implants or whatever. And he looks like a totally different guy. Like, if you guys have a chance, or if Daniel's going to edit in a caption, or I'm going to edit in a little face of Jason Alexander, like, he looks night and day amazing. Really? Yeah. I saw him, Community's on Netflix right now, and he had a guest appearance on Netflix, and like I saw him and I was like, there was a good 5 seconds of cognitive dissonance where I was like, I know this face, this is really, I know this voice, this is so familiar. And then I was like, wait, this is Jason Alexander, this is Costanza.
I know, dude, that's so crazy. Like I can't even, like, it's weird, I can't imagine it, but I can, because like I'm pretty sure, like I don't doubt the cognitive dissonance that you mentioned, but it's like it just won't compute right now.
Yeah.
And like a part of me doesn't even want to Google it because like I don't know if
Dude.
I'm like up for
Shattered.
the brain
He
fry.
looks
you know?
good. Like he looks
Yeah.
super, super good. Like he looks like a normal, handsome actor.
Yeah.
Still a little, chubby, but no big deal.
Dang.
But it's like transformation. Like the hair is, if I ever go bald, I'm gonna pull a Jason Alexander and get hair implants because he looks super good. Super good.
I was always wondering, do like Bosley and those hair treatments actually work? Because like I listen to Joe Rogan, and he's like, it doesn't work. I have a scar on the back of my head, and it's just stupid, and I basically just shaved everything off. And
what did he get
asking
done?
for I don't know, it's some kind of, I think, hair transplants. Like I think that's what he said. And it leaves like a scar on the back of your neck or something like that. Asking for a friend, no, like, one thing I discovered, and I hate to say it because I feel like saying it out loud breathes it into existence, but like I notice my hair is thinning. Like I'm 31 now, and like I see my scalp. Like when my hair is like freshly cut, or if it's angled just the right way, like I can see my scalp pretty clearly now, and I'm like, dude, like this is like way too soon, Like my dad's balding, but Greg's got a full head of hair, and I'm like, dude, Greg, why do you have all the best genes?
You could like get proactive about it. I hear that part of the like I don't know. Thankfully, knock on wood. Sorry to leave you hanging by yourself on this one.
Jerk.
But I hear,
it's
I
okay.
hear a lot of
jabbed
people...
at your age a lot, so
yes,
I guess I deserve this.
Yes, but I've heard that it is actually really, really good to get ahead of it rather than responding to the effects after they've already happened.
Ahead of it, very good.
Yeah, like Rogaine or like the things that help protect the hair that you already have, rather than trying to regrow or like regenerate your follicles. Basically, treating your hair well while you still have it is like the best fight you could fight, rather than like retroactively trying to resolve it. But I'm not an expert.
Gotcha.
You should Google it. Greg has no problems with it.
Apparently not. I mean,
I bet you he Rogaines. I bet you he has implants. Greg is Daniel's brother. Yeah, he's the pastor of our church. You should check him out on YouTube.
Yes.
I'm gonna put it out there. The hair you see is 10-to-1 wig. You heard it here first. It is a toupee. You heard it here first. It's too like slick and perfect and shiny. I'm pretty sure it's like a helmet. Like it just slips it on.
I know he
is a Ninja Turtle.
He did divulge some of his hair secrets to me. There's half an Elmer's factory in his hair every time he broadcasts on SPCC Live.
Elmer's?
An excellent, yeah. No, he basically glues his hair in place because like the kind of
hair
hairstyle
glue?
he has, like got to be glue.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
I figured Elmer would be funnier.
Yeah.
There's basically like a full bottle in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
mean, like,
hate
all
that much
power
product
to
in
him.
hair.
Yeah, like
It looks good.
he
It
just
looks good.
likes. It does look good. He likes that style that doesn't move. So like you do what you got to do when you've got fine Asian hair. So
Yeah. Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We were talking a second ago about like, sorry to shift topics, but like you were talking about Jet Li and his exposure or his role as Romeo Messiah, and I was just thinking like it's frustrating to me, and you can speak to this experience. I know in acting class you probably encounter more of a pulse than I do, but going to auditions and like doing this, like trying to make it in the entertainment business shtick, I really feel like we're second class citizens, as Asian males who are not gay. It's like you're allowed to be sexualized as an Asian male if you're gay, or if you're Hapa, or if you could potentially be Hispanic looking, or Polynesian if you're Samoan, but like as a like true East Asian, like I got a little jungle in me, I've got a little bit of Thai, but I'm like 90% Chinese. It's like there's a real emasculation that occurs, and I was just thinking about like what happened with Jet Li. Like, okay, sure, he might have chose not to kiss Aaliyah because he's got a wife or whatever, but it happens in like every movie. I'm curious, like, what have you seen at acting class, and like, have you ever seen real manifestations of this? I don't know what to call it. This phenomenon.
Well, I have a couple takes on that, but yes, it's actually, you know, you're absolutely right. It is a phenomenon, especially in mainstream Hollywood. There is this like ethnic hierarchy, if you will, and obviously whites are at the top. But like I won't go too much into it, but there's a reason why you don't commonly see like a black guy kissing a white woman on screen. You see it more now, but like definitely there was a time when you never would have seen that, and even now, like there's a reason why like you kind of reflexively cringe, right? Because we've been conditioned to expect certain things. It's like the hierarchy has been slowly programmed into our minds, and like admittedly Asians are at the lower end of that ladder, unfortunately.
Asian males,
yes. That is a very good correction, because Asian males are absolutely decidedly lower on the ladder than Asian women. Like you can see a white guy kissing an Asian woman on screen, no problem, and any combination above, but not Asian males. And in acting class, not as much, obviously. For one, my teacher is very, very progressive. But it's what I see more often is not so much that, but leading male, if you will, calls for certain characteristics, and it's harder. Like you're harder pressed, at least right now, to find Asian actors who fit that bill, if you will.
What kind of characteristics are those?
And this is just, I could be wrong, so maybe someone can enlighten me on this. But I notice leading males, at least in America, tend to be like 6 feet or taller. And they tend to have a certain build. And they have like certain facial features, like a rugged bone structure, maybe facial hair or something like. And like, just generally speaking, a lot of Asians I know don't have these features. Not that they can't. And I know a lot of Asians who do. But it's just like, for some reason it's just not as common. Even though you can easily find a person who kind of like matches this, but it doesn't have the same effect. Like, so for example, you know, there's an upcoming Marvel movie called Shang-Chi. And I like how I'm talking about it like I don't know much about it. It's going to be starring Simu Liu, who's famous for a Netflix original called Kim's Convenience. And
I thought it was starring a guy named Andy Lee from Marshall Club.
Yeah, in a perfect
isn't
world...
Simu like the plucky sidekick?
There's an alternate timeline, alternate dimension where there's an Earth that is like perfect in all ways. In that version, the Shang-Chi...
Daniel Mah is playing Shang-Chi. And Andy's the sidekick? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Because in this current one, I'm pretty sure there's like a character who's like a badass, you know, ninja dude,
he's like,
who's named Andy, you know, who's, I'm not going to say the name because I'm pretty sure we'll get taken down, but isn't that the main character? That's the main character. It's not Simu.
Right. It's kind of like the Green Hornet effect, where like in Hong Kong and everywhere in the world, it's actually the Kato show. But you know, for formality's sake, it's a guy named Van Williams starring.
Yes.
But,
yes.
It's I think they cast Simu Liu as Shang-Chi because, according to this templated leading man, he kind of fits the bill. But personally, like, I don't think it's a great fit. Like, and you can call me biased, and you'd probably be right. But like, if they're just trying to shoehorn him into something that it's just not going to have the intended effect. And my prediction is it's going to cause a little bit of dissonance in people's minds. And I'm not exactly sure what to think about that. It's like, yes, we want to like break down these barriers, and yes, we want to like shatter these stereotypes that people have been conditioned to hold about Asian actors, Asian male actors. But it's like, I don't think the way people are going about it now is exactly the way. Like, there's this hashtag going around called Asian representation. The idea is noble, and the idea is necessary, but I think the way they're going about it, it doesn't sit well with me, and I'm pretty confident in saying it doesn't sit well with anybody on Marshall Club. Like, because right now... I'm sorry,
No, keep going.
Well, like, because the sentiment that goes with it is let's forsake everything that even got us to the show in the first place. Because contrary to everything I said, there are exceptions to the rule. Bruce Lee was a leading man, a bona fide leading man. And he wasn't, 6 feet plus tall. And yes, he was ripped physically. Physically, he was a specimen, but he wasn't that big, bulky, muscular kind. He was very refined. And, he had everything. He had the charisma, he had the sex appeal, he had the fashion, he had the look. And he was totally able to make it work. And there's a reason why, Bruce Lee is more remembered in people's subconscious than a lot of leading men who came around his time. He is much more remembered than a lot of his contemporaries. So I think you're right. You got something there when you say that these stereotypes are kind of just a facade. But right now, the point I was making was that there seems to be this idea that we have to abandon these stereotypes. Oh, not all Asian people do kung fu, and not all Asian people have buck teeth, and not this and this and that.
Yeah,
it's particularly the kung fu one that kind of
of course,
that kind of annoys me, because obviously that's our platform. But it's this is a facet of your culture that is legit and does gain people's respect. And, got recognition in the first place. I can understand if you don't want to market yourself as a martial artist, but it's don't throw it under the bus, especially when it's one of the things that even lets you get to where you are in the first place. Yeah. And I think, if Martial Club has its way, we'll kind of pave more of the way for you in the future.
It's excessive sensitivity and misplaced, I don't even know what to call it. It's just there's this anger and this sentiment that causes people to forsake things inappropriately. And I get it. I 100% get it. I was, when I was on MasterChef, they were all right, let's dig up your past. Let's take you to when you were 6 years old and talk about martial arts when you haven't done martial arts consistently in 10 years. Let's not talk about going overseas, doing humanitarian work. Let's not talk about any of the things that you are today. Let's not talk about rock climbing. Let's not talk about your training with food. Let's not talk about your business acumen. Let's just talk about martial arts. Why? And it's because they think it's what's palatable to America. And I think there's probably this sentiment that occurs with Asians, especially Asians that don't have a background in martial arts, where they're bro, stop pigeonholing me into this thing that I'm not. But they've taken it too far and basically said, well, it's a negative stereotype, when it's not. It's totally not. I think, I was thinking about this very topic, and I feel we're unnecessarily forsaking something that is culturally beautiful and unique to us when we shouldn't. When what we should be is greedy. Rather than abandoning what we have, we should honor what we have and desire what we're not allowed to have. It almost seems strange to me that people are no, I won't do martial arts. I won't represent that at all because that's backwards, when it really isn't. It doesn't set you back. But what we should be saying is, well, I want the right to say, I want to be Ethan Hawke. I mean, obviously not Ethan Hawke. Maybe Ethan, what's the Chinese word for Hawk?
Huang.
Anyway, yeah. Ethan Huang. Or James Bond. I'm not saying I want to be James Bond. I'm not saying I want an Asian Thor. But what I am saying is I want those roles. I want the ability to transcend this box that Hollywood wants to put me in, and it's very limiting. It's very very, and in the same way it applies to sexuality as well. In the very very same way, they make it such that Asian guys either have to be the gay best friend, or Asian guys have to be the plucky kung fu sidekick who isn't sexualized at all. We're not allowed to be the leading male who is sexually desirable. And I feel it permeates into our society. You look at how we're regarded by people, and it's kind of terrible. You know, like you get all these like really negative stigmas that are impressed upon us in really ugly ways. But, yeah. I mean, I totally get it. I would be irritated if I was constantly bombarded with like, oh, you know, kung fu is backwards or whatever those. I don't even want to say the WOKE word. I hate that so much. But like that's what it is. You know, it's like
that is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
goodness.
it's stupid. It's stupid. You know, like it's I don't want to forsake martial arts. I don't want to forsake like Chinese food and all these like very interesting things that make me who I am. But what I do want is I want an Asian guy playing Hamilton. Why don't we have an Asian lead actor in Hamilton yet? You know, why is it like we celebrate because there's a guy in the ensemble who's Asian, and I celebration worthy that there's an Asian guy in the ensemble cast of Hamilton. But why is it that there's no lead yet? Why isn't there an Asian Aaron Burr or Thomas Jefferson? And I just think that it's because of this like really pervasive message that has consistently been reinforced by Hollywood. And it's a little disheartening, you know. It's a little disheartening.
Yeah. See, what also kind of like boils me is some of these, you know, some of the members of this movement, they're like quick to throw kung fu under the bus, but when it serves their purpose, then suddenly they embrace it again.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. Okay, maybe. I hope I'm not misrepresenting anyone, but that's the message that sends to me loud and clear. Like, for example, did you know that they're rebooting the TV series Kung Fu on the CW?
I did not.
Yeah, and you know, so the original, which already was an appropriation in and of itself.
Yeah. White dude.
It was, like David Carradine is not Asian at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Like, not even like down to any of the way he moves. It's nuts. It's like bonkers offensive that they take a concept helmed by, you know, one of the greatest Asian American actors ever, Bruce Lee, who was like who can be thought
was
of
it a concept Asian.
For him? And the conventional wisdom, and who knows what the actual truth is that it was his idea. Like, it was his concept for the show, and then somehow or another, like, appropriated by ABC, and they cast another guy instead. And you like either way, like, whether that's true or not, Bruce Lee would be 100,000 times the better choice for that role.
Absolutely.
Like, down to every single aspect. The acting,
was he alive?
The action. Absolutely, he was alive. It was really. Oh, actually, okay, never mind. The show aired in the early 70s. He died in the early 70s. But I think, like, when it was being developed, it was like clear.
They had the ability to cast him, but they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was passed up for the role. And like, yes, kung fu was a cultural phenomenon, and I actually owe a lot of my kung fu upbringing to that show. My sifu and my sifu's sifu actually worked on that show when it was a thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a lot of the episodes actually feature the martial arts taught in my school. So, you know, to that end, I can't bash it too much. But, well, the point I was making was that now they're rebooting it, and instead of, you know, a Kwai Chang Caine, it's this Chinese girl who went to China and trained at the temple and is trying to use what she learned at the temple to, you know, to enrich other people's lives back here in America. And like, I don't know, it stinks of a lack of originality. And I see the promotional poster for it, and it's, you know, like, fairly typical looking Asian woman in a very mediocre martial arts stance, clearly doesn't know what she's doing. And I just don't trust them to do this this material justice. And
I'm Googling
like,
it.
Yeah, Google it, let me know what you think. Like, maybe I'm just hating on it because it's not us. But I like, nothing I've seen so far lets me know that they're going to do any martial arts related stuff justice. But I mean, we're not talking about martial arts, we're talking about Asian representation. And I don't think, like, if you don't do the martial arts justice, you're already taking a significant aspect of Asian culture and you're kind of disrespecting the culture already. You've kind of like failed before you even started. That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I think you have a very, very distinct window into this world that isn't really privy to most of the consumers of like media content. Like it's interesting because the reason why they're not privy to it is because your platform isn't big enough. Because the content that's being pushed out there is content that's subpar from a technical perspective. What I'm talking about is the martial arts behind it. You know, you see a lot of really, really, honestly, I'm just gonna say it. Like, you don't have to say it, but they're really, really crappy martial artists pushing out content that really just is aesthetically unappealing to somebody with a trained eye. And at the end of the day, like, why is it that I have a trained eye and they don't have a trained eye? It's because of you guys. Right. Like, there was a point in time where I could look at some of the content from like the John Wick series, and I wouldn't see all the cheats that they use to kind of fudge the narrative, like the coherency of combat. And now, like, when you like, I challenge my viewers, even if you're not into martial arts, even if you're not into martial arts movies, just spend like 30 seconds, a minute or two. Look at what Martial Club does. Like, look at their most recent video with their most recent long video, Itman. What's it called? Like a love story. Okay. So Itman intercepting fist, and cross-reference that with something from, say, give me a good one. What's something that they should compare it to? No, actually, no. You don't say anything because you'll get in trouble. Compared to Black Panther, right? And you look at like Black Panther. Black Panther has, you know, like all credit and all respect to. It's really cool what they've accomplished in terms of, you know, having this huge cultural phenomenon with an all-black cast and being super successful. Like, very, very happy for the Black community. I'm really looking forward to the day where we can have the same representation and the same perks. But I digress. Like, if you look at the action choreography in there, you've got like a $100 million production. I don't know how much they spent on the production, but I know it's at least $100 million.
Yeah.
Why is it that they've skimped so heavily on something that really, really isn't that hard to do? Look at what the leads do. Andy, Brian, and Daniel. Look at Martial Club. They've got no budget. These are guys who literally just love the craft, and this is their expression of love towards their childhood heroes, their Jackie Chans and Jet Lis and Donnies of yesteryear, and they're doing it out of like grit and passion and a desire to promote like the martial ethos into this generation. And you look at what they can accomplish with no money, and then you compare it to what these huge budget movies are producing, and it's a little startling. You know, it's a little startling that what's constantly being pushed out is enough. And you know, I've always told you, Daniel, you need to figure out a way to communicate. First, you need to like find the right platform, the right venue, the right means to communicate it. You know, so you have their attention like this. You've got their attention. They're listening. How do you communicate it to these people that like what you guys do is very different, and why just don't be modest here? Why it's better? Why you guys are the best in the game? Why there's nobody doing what you do? And like I feel like that's something that really needs to happen, because personally, as a fan of the action genre, as a fan of the martial arts genre, I'm sick of fast forwarding through action sequences. Like I never ever watch action sequences anymore for more than a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate truth. I mean, and the funny thing is, there's not a shortage of talent out there. Like, I mean, as far as able-bodied stuntmen go, there are a lot. You know, like people with acrobatics, people with, you know, sound martial arts technique, but it just never sells on camera. And the crazy thing is, like, you know, amongst Martial Club, I'm not even the expert on this, but I spend a lot of time thinking about it. And the difference is, like, before your very eyes. It's not like a hidden... It's not ancient Chinese secret, you know? Like, look at it. Like...
You should... Like, we're going to get in trouble. We can't actually show the clip. But look at freaking the Black Power Ranger in the reboot, the Asian dude. Sudi Lin, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah.
Like
Ludi, yeah.
Ludi Lin in the most sorry Ludi, like I'm glad you're getting big breaks. I know you're never gonna listen to this, but I'm super happy for you. I'm super happy that you're getting big breaks. But your martial arts blows, man. Like it's just terrible. It's terrible, and it's like apparently abundantly clear that it's terrible. I didn't watch the Power Rangers movie. I just saw this really cringy Black Mirror episode where he's like bouncing back and forth in this video game stance, and it's like clear there's like no martial intent, no coordination with the movement, and like why couldn't they get somebody like Yoshi, right? He's a pretty boy, right. You know, he's got the physique, he's got everything it takes, and he knows how to move. You know, why couldn't
don't
they,
let Andy hear you say any of this.
Why he doesn't? No.
No.
Okay, get Andy. Get Andy.
Get
Andy.
Yoshi,
I was just saying, like, you know, Yoshi's like the pretty boy. You know, Ludi has that same, you know, pretty boy look. Yeah. Yoshi has that same look. Andy's just, you know, so masculine. I'm just kidding. Love you, Andy. But yeah, like, there's no reason to cut corners, and I feel like it kind of goes back into that like whole martial arts, like being, I don't know, like disrespected by Asian actors today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing is, like, I don't think all the efforts of this Asian representation movement are wasted. I think there's a little bit of, well, there's this constant self-reflection that needs to happen, and I think, like, there's a reason why people also reflexively cringe when they hear, or, you know, when this topic of Asian representation comes up. And maybe not to everyone, but the fact that some people feel it limits the whole movement. But, anyways, it's such a heavy topic, but, I mean, like you said, we have to find a way to make our voice heard. And we don't get that done without being productive in the industry. And Martial Club has actually been in hardcore writing mode for our own movie. And, you know, it might have to get shelved in favor of other things that are happening more immediately. But, like, writing a movie is actually a very stimulating exercise. And, like, I don't know. I feel like ever since lockdown happened, my mind's kind of been drifting in that area. Like, I watched, like, over the past 2 weeks, I recently watched through all 23 Marvel movies. And, like, I did it just because, like, I actually had access. I have access now. But
what were your favorites? I have to ask.
I think, for the most part, my favorites are still the same. We've talked about this several times for those of you guys watching. But my opinions of other movies that I previously dismissed has actually gone up. But maybe it's because, like, in context, it's like, oh, I appreciate this a lot more. But Thor Ragnarok is still up there. Iron Man, obviously. I love all the Iron Man movies. 2 is still my least favorite of the 3, but agreed. I like it much better than I thought I did. And I like Iron Man 3 even more than I did before. But Iron Man 1 is still, like, one of the best in the whole MCU. Let me see. I want to say that I like Winter Soldier, but I actually find the plot a little convoluted. Like, I like how, like, big in scope the movie is, and I like the whole, like, spy thriller thing, but it's just a lot, you know? There's a lot, and it's a long movie. But I do like, let me see. I liked Age of Ultron a lot better than I remembered.
Dude, I watched it again recently. I didn't realize it was James Spader playing
he was great as Ultron.
So right? Good, so good.
He's so good.
So good that I didn't even realize it was James Spader the first maybe 2 times I watched it. Yeah, like, and he's, like, so menacing, and at the same time he's, like, funny. He's got, like, that Stark snarky, you know, that Stark snark, and it's cool how he channeled his, like, Robert Downey Jr. because that's written into the character. Exactly.
He's composite of his creators, and Tony Stark is one of them, and I like how, like, his acting really brought that forward. Yeah, and he's a great movie villain, you know, and, like,
even with no screen time, you know, no, like, face screen time. It's just all his voice.
Right. You don't even see his actual face, and the, like, that's what I love. Like, a villain who brings menace to the screen. I think that was one of the major failings of Justice League the movie. Like, nobody gave a crap about Steppenwolf. They're like, oh, it's this guy with horns who's like making a ruckus. So like once the Justice League can put their differences aside, then they can go like show them what's what. But like what I liked about the Avengers movies is like Thanos, like you really do kind of like dread him, and same with Ultron. Maybe less so with Loki, but like Loki, you like Loki, and that makes all of these movies pretty interesting. But I do admire the facetious banter that's kind of like spread throughout the whole MCU. I mean, it's better in some cases than others, but like there are some genuine laugh out loud moments in the movies. Yeah. But you know what's crazy is during lockdown, I've been remembering my dreams, and I realize like I've dreamt up like movies. Like in my dreams, I actually like direct movies, and they have like specific genre tropes and like they're shot a certain way, lit a certain way, and I'm actually really surprised that my subconscious picks up on these things. Like I dreamt a romantic comedy last week.
Oh wow, that's different. That's different.
Yeah. So I dreamt like a historical drama. I dreamt a romantic comedy.
Historical drama.
I dreamt like a sci-fi like thriller.
Next Quentin Tarantino right here.
Yeah, and I dreamt like an epic, like a sweeping historical epic, and like what's crazy is that like I insert real life actors into these plays, and like some of them I dream like from beginning to end. Like I dreamt a romantic comedy starring Pierce Brosnan, and it's about
good choice.
What was that?
Good choice.
Yeah. I mean, now he's a little too old for it, but maybe it's because I actually saw him in a romantic comedy recently.
Dude, he's good. Like, him as too old romantic comedy makes it even better.
Yeah, no, he pulls it off pretty good. Like, he's still pretty dashing in his silver years. Like, he in my dream, he was the heir, I guess he's like 2 generations removed from nobility. So like either his father or his he's like comes from noble blood, but he's just a regular person. Yeah. And he uses like the family's now modest fortune to run like a small amusement park. But like he decides to go on a bender, and it ends up with him stranded on the other side of the world. So he ends up having to pose as nobility in order to make his way back home. And he meets a woman, falls in love with her, and pretends to be nobility in order to woo her. And even at some point in the story becomes, like, has a chance to claim nobility. But in the end, it's like he realizes his place is back home at his amusement park. And, like, I even remember the closing shot of the movie. It was this, like, wide tracking shot, like, really complicated. And it ends with a wooden monument at the entrance of his amusement park. And supposedly it was a quote from a novel. And it said, "Of love we rise."
A novel you wrote in your dreams as well.
Yeah, a novel I wrote in my dreams, like based on The Old Man and the Sea, and it was called "Of Love We Rise." So that was the name of the movie, "Of Love We Rise." And then, not from
Call Pierce Brosnan. It's time. It's time.
It's so
Call
crazy.
Pierce.
I'm like,
get his agent on the line. Say, "Hey man, Corona or no Corona, you're making this video, this movie now."
It was just ridiculously detailed, and I'm like, wow. Even down to the lighting, the golden lighting, I'm like, this is romantic comedy through and through. And I'm like, I don't watch romantic comedies that often, but like when I do, I guess it seeps into my subconscious.
It's time, man. You're ready. You're in that mode. It's time to contact. It's time for Martial Club to go on a retreat and make a bazillion movies, starting with this romantic comedy starring Pierce Brosnan.
Don't worry, our
Pierce Brosnan opposite Andy Lee.
Seriously, he'll be your stunt double. You're only like a 1.5 foot height difference, but it'll work. Yeah, but like it's the movie that Martial Club is cooking is a little more true to form, but it gives me hope because it has all the tropes of classic kung fu movies. I won't say too much now, but I also feel like. If we do it right, because we've been having extensive meetings about writing and what the movie needs, and like they've been in-depth conversations about what makes movies work. And I do think this is a kung fu movie that'll be true to the genre, but also have like like competent writing and like could actually be a compelling story.
Dude.
So I don't know. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, man. Whatever you do, just make sure that at the end of the day, it's got to have a good movie. Like, it's got to be a good movie. Exactly. Independent of the kung fu, you guys already have mastered the craft of making excellent videos and promoting like high-quality martial content. At this point, you just need to like master that other side. Or not master it, just do that other side and pair those two together. Because otherwise, you'll lose... Like, I think one of the things is so many people think that martial arts movies suck or action movies suck because they have such poor exposure to good content. Like, if all you watched is the Fast and Furious, I'd think action movies suck too. You know, there's like no substance behind those movies. But like, if you've watched like Die Hard 1 or like any of the Die Hards, or if you've watched like anything like that, or Fifth Element. I mean, Fifth Element isn't exactly an action movie, but like any movie where there's
counts.
It does. Like there's
totally
a lot there's a lot of action. Or great example, The Dark Knight. Tons of action content. It's still a superhero movie, but it's also a good movie. You know, it's not just something that's pandering to the trope and pandering to the audience that consumes that, regardless of how good the quality is, because there's always going to be somebody who's going to watch Batman movies. Like, the thing that makes The Dark Knight special is the people who don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally transcendent of its genre. I love that about that movie. It's so good.
Yeah. Do you guys know, is it going to be a period piece? Is it going to be current?
It's going to be set in the modern day. So, like, as far as the environment goes, in Andy's words, it's like reminiscent of, well, he wouldn't use the word reminiscent, but it's reminiscent of the world of Dragon Tiger Gate, which was a Donnie Yen movie from like maybe about 15 years ago. So it's like a neo, and like kind of a quasi-modern, quasi-futuristic neo Hong Kong. Yeah. That's kind of like the look we would want to go for.
Lots of neon lights, lots of
yes.
Super poppy, industrial fashion.
Yeah, just kind of like everything that you would be able to find today, except ramped to an 11 or a 12, and just enough to give it that otherworldly feel without having to go otherworld. So we'll see. I think all of that's secondary. We're still kind of just laying the foundation for it right now. But it's been cool. We've been doing meetings where we actually sit together and watch movies to research.
Super good.
And we had a meeting 2 days ago, and we went into it not knowing which movie to watch. But we examined the themes, and then like suddenly I remembered. I'm like, I remember watching a movie as a kid that had this, and this. And it was Shaolin Wooden Man by Jackie Chan, one of his early movies. This was like back when Jackie was still ugly. He still had like slanted eyes and like was box office poison. But like we watched the movie and
did he get surgery?
He got surgery. Hate to burst someone's bubble. Jackie Chan got surgery. Donnie Yen got surgery.
Really?
DMAH might get surgery in like 10 years.
Wait. Did Donnie Yen get surgery? What was that weightlifting movie?
By then he already had it, I think. If you look at Donnie Yen's earliest movies, like Drunken Tai Chi or like Mismatched Couples, his eyes are like really slanty. They're like my eyes. And then
Mismatched Couples is the one I was thinking about. Okay.
Yeah. Like he absolutely.
Oh, he does look different.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like you forget about it, right? And Jackie Chan, you forget about it.
I think he looks good like this. That's
Donnie is just a good-looking person. Like I don't think he needed to do it.
Yeah. It seems like it was a decision to make him more palatable to this exact thing that we were talking about. He looks more Asian in this Mismatched Couples, and I didn't load up the other movie, but like at this point he looks like
same for sure.
Unquestionably Asian. And like they've kind of westernized him, or it almost looks like I don't want to say, okay, I'm just gonna say he looks a little bit more jungle. You know, he looks a little bit more Southeast Asian, with the shape, with the eye shape nowadays. But I don't think that's necessary. I think it's kind of dumb that they. I mean, sorry, Donnie, you're handsome either way. All respect in the world. Like you're gonna watch this. But yeah, like
you never
he didn't need to. Yeah. I mean, he didn't need to do it. He didn't need to do it. He was good looking then. He's good looking now, and we just need to like resexualize Asian males.
Right. But honestly speaking, Jackie was right on the money with that decision. Sorry,
was he?
Jackie, I love you. Much better looking now, I must admit. But then
Didn't
again,
have
like
the blessings that Donnie did.
Right. But Jackie's star text, I like, isn't really based on rugged good looks. It's
not at all.
Relatability. Mm-hmm. And I think star text is an interesting term. The funny thing is, I learned the term star text in college.
Text, T-E-X-T?
T-E-X-T, right. Star text. I don't know if it's an official term, but it's absolutely a valid concept when I think about it. So, I'm going to cost everybody the chance to make $100. I used to bet everybody that they couldn't guess my major in one guess. I'm a Spanish major with an emphasis in film. And so as a result of that, I had to take film classes to fulfill my major credits, right? So one of the classes that I took that counted towards my major was Hong Kong film action. Hong Kong action. And then, so, like, it was, like, my favorite class in all of my 4 years at UCI. And it was the only class where I did every bit of the reading. And I learned a lot. And some things that I learned from that class, actually most things that I learned from that class, still get applied to Martial Club today. And one thing I learned was the concept of the star text. So it's kind of like the ethos and the pathos that an actor furnishes for himself. So, for example, Jackie Chan has a very, very well-established star text. But the funny thing is, his star text in America contrasts pretty significantly with that with his in Asia. So in America, we know him as Mr. Nice Guy. He's the one who makes family-friendly movies. That's the thing. He has the perception of being family-friendly. Because he doesn't cuss. Well, he does cuss. he doesn't they're not gratuitously violent, and like he always has like the nice guy vibe who's always getting picked on, and he's always like the underdog hero, and he's like been very, very careful to maintain that reputation in America. Whereas in Hong Kong, he's like raging alcoholic, party animals, womanizer. It's really
Bad
crazy. Boy. Yeah, it's so crazy that like both images of him persist to this day. And they can exist in the same world. It's so nuts. Whereas Donnie Yen is also very careful about his star text as well. He's like the badass, tough guy. He's like more typical of a leading man. And like, despite being a bona fide leading man, he'll never do any like sex scenes, like out of respect to his wife. And he's careful to portray himself as a family man. And like, these don't necessarily have to be true about them, but they take pains to make sure that that's how the public perceives them. Yeah, and
I didn't like Ip Man 4 at all, but I thought the narrative between him and his son was really, really powerful, and I think it speaks exactly that. He probably demanded to be written that way.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because it's like qualities of Ip Man. So there's Ip Man, the real life Ip Man, and then there's this movie Ip Man that has captured the attention of the whole world, and it's crazy that like Donnie Yen embodies that character so much that qualities of that movie Ip Man are superimposed on Donnie Yen.
On the real, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because Donnie Yen's not even the only Ip Man actor now. Lots of people portrayed Ip Man at this point. So it's kind of becoming like a James Bond type character, or a Wong Fei-hung, where it's like a single, purely recognizable entity, but portrayed by many different faces now. And it's a franchise, like a full-blown franchise.
I never got your opinion. What did you think of Master Z?
Oh, okay. So that was the spin-off you were asking about, right?
Yeah.
That's
the for those of you who don't know, Donnie Yen did Ip Man, then that led to Ip Man 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in 3, there was a character who was cool enough, apparently, to get his own standalone movie, and that was called Master Z.
Yeah, so Master Z is a spin-off starring Max Zhang and Michelle Yeoh, and it's the character Zheng Tinqi from Ip Man 3, and it kind of follows him afterwards. So in Ip Man 3, he was a rival Wing Chun master, but after facing defeat at the hands of Ip Man, he forsakes his training and tries to make a way for him and his son in the Master Z movie. I found it to be a very typical entry in what is now like the in the modern Hong Kong movie genre. So very like polished. They kind of rely on the period aesthetic. You know, it takes place in what 1950s Hong Kong, and like
British Hong Kong.
I remember, like it has that, it hits that nostalgia itch that a lot of people have. And that kind of like gains it points, but it's a little too polished, and that's true of a lot of Hong Kong movies nowadays.
Too
like
polished.
I remember, yeah. Well, okay. For example, I to put it into perspective, I took my mom to see Ip Man 3 in theaters, and like a part of me wanted to see what she thought of the movie because it takes place in Hong Kong when she was only 5 years old, and a lot of it centers around an elementary school, and she would have been that age. And like I wanted to see like, is this reminiscent of the Hong Kong you knew? And when I asked her that, she's like, it's too clean. Hong Kong was never ever that clean. Like you can't just sit around like in the street like these people are sitting around. And like I think that speaks volumes about the whole movie. Like Ip Man 3 and Master Z and like all of the movies that came out around that time. Like they're trying to give you this idealized version of Hong Kong and this idealized version of a lot of things. And it's like a part of you knows that that's not the truth. And I think ultimately that plays against the movie. Like the martial arts action, some of it's really good. And I'm really surprised Michelle Yeoh ages very gracefully. Like her on-screen presence only gets better with age, and she can still move like really really well. And I think I liked her character in this movie. And it's really impressive that she had extensive scenes and dialogue in English, which is kind of like a rare treat in Hong Kong movies. But overall, and it has Dave Bautista in it. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And I actually think, like, to me,
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, the acting standout was Dave Bautista because it's like you set a level of expectation for people that you know on screen.
Yeah.
And I think Dave Bautista is the one who rose the most over what I expected. And I'm like, oh, geez, like, you're, like, not bad.
Yeah.
But overall...
Don't spoil too much about him.
Yeah. The movie was so-so. A fun watch, especially if you're just, like, popping it in and chilling with friends. But... You know, I am glad that they made the movie, and I am glad that they expanded Max Zhang's character. But overall, it was just like, you know, I'd give it a C+.
Without spoiling it, and it's going to be hard because I'm trying not to like reveal too much.
Yeah,
I was kind of impressed by the writing.
It
was. I felt like thoughtfully and artfully written. In a way that a lot of martial arts movies aren't. A lot of martial arts movies follow this like very, very one-track linear approach, and it becomes very, very predictable. Whereas this one, it felt balanced and nuanced and interesting. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's on Netflix right now, Master Z. Support the arts. Go check it out. Get these guys some royalty monies. And encourage Netflix to put more movies like this on Netflix rather than the trash like they regularly put on. I'm like not this. We're gonna have to take this down one day if we ever make it. Like I gotta take this down like right away. Anyway. I think you're absolutely right. Like when you can like clearly see the themes and the character arc. And like I do actually, I will give. I think you're absolutely right. I will give it credit. Like it did have a heart, and it did kind of like thoughtfully project this roadmap for Master Z to follow. And you're right. That's not seen in a lot of martial arts movies. But what I am proud to say is like going back and watching a lot of these movies that I loved as kids.
it's not completely absent. Like some movies really, really have like pretty thoughtful.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, sorry, you go first.
I was just gonna say, like you're right. Action movies do kind of suck. Like they're not as deep, and like people are generally looking for more. But I think there's actually a reason why Jet Li, to this day, his best reviewed movie is Fist of Legend. Did you know Fist of Legend holds a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
No way! Wow.
I know. I mean, like I know Rotten Tomatoes, like some people give it too much credit, but 100% for a movie like
I think
Fist
it deserves
it. I do too. And I watched it again fairly recently. Like there's actually like a fair amount of sophisticated writing in that movie. And it's actually rather impressive considering that it's a remake of a remake of a remake. Yeah. Like it's a storyline that's been like beaten to death, and they still found a way to make it new.
And even for those who have already seen it repeatedly, it's still a little fresh.
Yeah. It hits on those notes that are just like always relevant. I love it.
About Master Z, one other comment. It is the first kung fu flick in a long time where the little kid was totally precious and adorable, and I didn't want to kick him in the head. Like the last time I can remember that, I think it's probably Iron Monkey. Why do they always make the Chinese kids like useless brats who get their parents like killed or in trouble? But this kid was cool. Like he was charming and cool, and like when he was I'm not gonna spoil it, but he was charming and cool, and you know that was another point of I thought well written. That made it well written, you know. Like normally they rely on that trope where the kid is a little annoying and gets everyone in trouble, and they over rely on it. It just becomes annoying rather than compelling. But
yeah. You know, there was a time when that wasn't like the default. Like in the early 90s, the badass martial arts kid was actually a very marketable trope in Hong Kong.
I don't know what happened. Like it's almost like hand in hand with the Golden Child era, you know, when like all the kids became you know special like idol kings that you know could do no wrong and were spoiled to rotten. It's like a social really commentary.
Yeah, I never thought of that. And like I think I don't think you're just imagining it. I think there are actual correlations between like what's happening in the world. But I think first and foremost for martial arts movies, it's lack of talent. Like, for example, in the early 90s, like 93, 94, which I personally consider to be Jet Li's golden age in film, he did a lot of movies with a child actor named Miu Zhe. My tones are off. Miu Zhe. He was a child martial artist who was in a lot of Jet Li's films. And I think he was first and foremost a wushu champion, just like Jet Li was when he was a kid. And I think it was that reminiscence that you know, film producers were going for when they cast him. But there were others too. Like there was like a crop of them, a generation of these child martial artists who just looked really good on screen. And it's crazy because these kids grew up and are kind of like fledgling movie stars now. But like, yeah, like I guess they don't have that same lightning in a bottle effect that Jet Li had. Few people do. But it's just a shame that like this kind of thing totally works. It's just there's definitely a demand for it. There's just no supply. Like kids who are like really, really like extraordinarily proficient in martial arts and can like carry it over to film, like that is like a unicorn now.
Dude, just tell like Andy to shave real thin and like he can play like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, he could totally.
Baby face still.
Yeah, but what was crazy was that these kids were like 8. You know, they were like...
Yeah, no. It is impressive how, like, I remember being, like, blown the heck away by that little girl in Iron Monkey who played a little boy, you know. The
funny thing is, like, a lot of people don't realize that was a girl.
You told me. You were the one that told me when we were watching it at Mike's son's house.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, because, like, it is a Wong Fei-hung movie. Iron Monkey, the Chinese title is Kid Wong Fei-hung and the Iron Monkey.
Oh.
And it's so crazy. That's like the only time where Wong Fei-hung, a beloved franchise character, is portrayed by a girl. And very competently so.
Super competently so.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And you know, she, it's funny because like, it's like the child actor's curse. Do you know what became of her?
I thought you said she died.
Oh no, she's still alive.
Sorry, that's the girl. That's the Wing Chun girl.
Oh yeah. The girl who played Wing Chun in a movie from like 10 years ago. She died.
What happened? What happened to that girl? She left.
She was. Oh, what happened to Wong Fei Hong girl?
Mm-hmm.
She's a cop in Hong Kong now.
Whoa!
Yeah,
so she's like real life super cop.
Yeah, I know, right? So she grew up she went on to compete in like the Asian Games. So she had a wushu career, but ultimately like she left the martial arts world to become a cop, and it's crazy because like
on the real level.
Yeah, it's funny because her face still looks the same, but her body is like completely stretched out, and like I think proportionally her legs are really long. And her upper body's like small, so like I think that might have had something to do with it, because like especially when you do Southern style, like that body type doesn't really make it look good. Yeah, her legs are too long. But I don't know. I'd like to think that she just realized acting wasn't for her, and she just wanted to settle, for something a little more down to earth.
I was actually thinking about another child actor not that long ago. Somebody that you know very well. Short round, Mr. Ke.
Yes.
Dude, like...
Ke Quan.
Yeah, Ke Quan. It's amazing to see what he looks like today, and the fact that he's still in industry doing really relevant things, like ultra relevant things. Things that are intimately relevant to martial club.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't wait, dude. I think before long, Ke will be on a martial club short.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Ke.
Yeah.
Please appear on a martial club short and support us. Support them.
Dude, yeah. Jonathan Ke Quan inspires me in so many ways, because like he was really iconic for his age,
So iconic.
I know, like two of like the defining movies of the 80s, he was front and center. Like he was in The Goonies, and he was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And like you could still easily find, like you go to a room of 10 people, any random room, providing they're all wearing masks and standing 6 feet apart from each other. You can say like, who here has seen like either The Goonies or Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? And you're gonna get a couple hands, and you're like, remember that Asian kid from the movie? And they'd be like, yeah, short round. And it's like, it's really rare that an Asian child actor like pervades the subconscious of that many people, And like, they say, like, obviously people probably...
A minor character, too.
Yeah.
In both movies. He's a supporting character, not a primary.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is, like, okay, so people probably wouldn't be able to, like, say what else he's been in. But he's actually been active this whole time, Like, he grew up, like, went the martial arts route, started helping Corey Yuen, who's actually one of the premier fight directors in Hong Kong, and did work all over the place. He was actually one of the advisors on X-Men 2, X2.
Oh, from a martial arts perspective?
Like he was like one of the stunt advisors or something like that. Like he actually has a body of work that's been pretty constant ever since he was a kid. Decidedly less recognizable, but like the fact that he's still doing things from behind the shadow and still like managing to make his, like leave his fingerprint on the industry. Like it's pretty inspiring. And
I also thought it was like awesome that, when I was a kid growing up in like suburban New Jersey, surrounded by 99.9% white people, like people would always bring that up, like booby trap, and like try to be kind of insulting-ish, like they'd use it as an attack, but at the same time, like there was nothing offensive about it. This is like, dude, like, yeah, he had an accent. So what? He was still a badass, epic character. Yeah. Like, at no point in time was he a poor representation of who we are. And it's another one of those things. Like, we shouldn't be ashamed of our actions, Like, there are people like us that talk like us. And I don't think that a lot of Asian actors I know, like, are really, really against the idea of adopting their, like, a more mother tongue approach. Or just an accented English, and I don't think that makes sense. You know, like my parents grew up with imperfect English. You know, like my I didn't have perfect English growing up, and it doesn't make sense to me that I feel like I should flee from that. I don't think I should be typecast in like, you know, like the bucktooth, whatchamacallit, Mickey, who was it?
Yeah, Charlie Chan.
Yeah, like none of that garbage, but like,
I think the key, yeah. Well, I think the key difference is authenticity. Like, because Mickey Rooney was like, he was being something that he's 100% not. Mm-hmm. But in an
insulting way.
Yeah, in an bonkers insulting way. That is so crazy. I can't. Well, I can believe there. You know, worse things have happened, but like, oh my goodness, like that's super offensive. But Jonathan Ke Quan was himself. Like he actually talks like that, and to this day, you listen to his voice, like you won't recognize him as Short Round now because he's like, you know, he's in his 40s,
an adult.
But like, but you listen to him. And you look at his face and you're like, oh my gosh, you're Short Round. He actually sounds like that. And the thing was, he was being himself. And like...
It's authentic.
And yes, yeah, as imperfect as his accent, you know, like he it's not like he has like an accentless English, but like that was him. And Donnie Yen has like a pretty heavy Cantonese
super heavy
accent.
Yeah.
Like the worst of both worlds. Like, but like... You like to hear him speak just because like he asserts himself. He's powerful in presence, and it's not in the accent. It's in the presentation. It's in the essence of who you are, and like it's nice to to your point. It's nice to note that you don't need to be like this whitewashed version of yourself in order to be accepted.
Exactly. You know, it's kind of interesting to me. I was actually just complaining about. Bad accents by Asian actors recently.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. The worst.
It's hard because like there's a part of me that wants to like support them, but there's also a part of me that's like, dude, come on, man, you're Korean. I could do a better Korean accent than you can.
I know.
I'm not Korean. Like I was watching Kim's Convenience and it was just so cringy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But it's.
Anyway, I think it's good that we're like embracing that and, that, you know, some people are embracing that and trying to make it work because, you know, there's a way to conduct yourself and there's a way to like carry yourself with poise and authenticity and still honor where you came from, you know, without just completely abandoning. Like it's like what I've I think this is it.
Yeah.
I feel like. Rather than being greedy for our people, we have desired to scrub the culture out of us so that there's no yellow left and we're just yellow-looking white people.
Yes. That's... I think you hit it on the head right there. That's what drives me crazy. Yeah,
because there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, like the idea that we should be ashamed of growing up eating pork fried rice and dumplings and like all these things that kids would make fun of us for is the exact antithesis of actually what I want to fight for. You know, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of where I came from. I'm not ashamed of my upbringing and my culture. And I want to bring that to the forefront if possible. But at the same time, I also think that I'm completely and fully qualified as somebody who grew up his entire life in America to go out for the roles that are typically exclusively for white people. You know, like... I think that I should be allowed to do those things, and it's interesting. There's definitely a lack of finesse that the movement has, and I hope that over time, you know, we won't have to just be angry at them, but we could like have dialogue with these people and communicate to them in ways to help them kind of be converted to our side, because many of these people who are representing this agenda in ways that don't please you. Or kind of upset you and upset me, are the very same people that have the best platform and the best like medium to communicate. Anyway, we've been going on for an hour and 25 minutes, and I am like digging it, and I feel like we can continue to go on for significantly longer. But I feel like we should wrap.
Sure. Yeah. Like, this was really fun. Hopefully you guys watching or listening enjoyed what we had to say, and hopefully it got your own thoughts running. But yeah, this whole idea of the perception of Asians in film, like a lot of things, we have to have faith that things can change for the better. And a big part of faith is actually acting on it and making it happen ourselves. And I think as long as we continue to like put forward the best versions of ourselves, and do it authentically, and not trying to be something that we're not, I think that's the key to true change. But yeah, I look forward to future conversations because I think there's a lot to talk about, and hopefully you guys will derive a lot of enjoyment and enrichment from this. So, with that being said, I'm DMAH.
I'm Mike Rao.
And we'll be back at you soon. Until then, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.